I think one of the most important business etiquette, networking, skills, if there was one, is your ability to remember someone's name.
Yes.
Because how are you going to show somebody you're going to care for their business, their future, their finances, their health, whatever it is you have to offer them, if you don't care enough just to remember them?
Yes.
Because what's the message we send to somebody when we ask them for their name again 2 or 3 times?
You're not important.
You're not important,
Yep.
right? And that doesn't matter what you say after that.
Yep.
It's null and void,
Yes.
right? And so people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
And here's the thing, and Maya Angelou said it beautifully. People won't remember what you say. They won't remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's going back to the emotion again, right? And so that caring is everything. Nothing sells like caring. The truth is you could always remember that name.
Okay.
And so I'm calling people who are watching this on their BS.
Yes.
That when you say you're not good at remembering names, that's not true. You just remembered somebody's name. Why? What's the difference? You're motivated. I would say, how do you do it? Ask yourself questions. You could elevate your level of motivation. You could ask yourself, what's my level of motivation to remember something or to learn this or to remember this name? You could say 0 to 10, give it a number, 5. Well, and here's this mind hack. How do I thought experiment, how do I make it turn it from a 5 to a 7?
Okay.
What do I need to think about differently?
Okay.
Like how that person's going to feel, or the business I could create for them, or just, learning these skills better,
Okay.
right? Tony says, what you practice in private, you're rewarded for in public, right?
Yes.
And so maybe it's just a skill that you're practicing. So motivation. I remember I was doing a training in Silicon Valley, and after I was done, somebody comes up to me, it was Bill Gates. And I asked him, like, if you could have any one superpower, what would it be? He's like, Jim, the ability to read faster. And Warren Buffett was like, I've wasted probably 10 years of my life reading slowly. And that's why reading and speed reading is so important, because people spend about 4 hours processing information a day. You think about all the emails and the business plans and the books and all the stuff you have to process.
Yes.
If you could just double your reading speed and go from 4 hours to 2 hours, you save 2 hours a day.
Whoa.
What's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? Actually, let's say you just save 1 hour a day. That's 365 hours a year.
Incredible.
That's how many 40-hour work weeks? 9.
9.
2 months
Oh
of productivity.
my gosh.
More than 2 months of productivity is saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading. So that's why we do so much, like for people you watching this, I know a lot of people are entrepreneurs, they have teams. The biggest line item, right, is human capital,
Yes,
right? Payroll.
for sure.
But if they're reading 4 or 5 hours a day, that means half of their salary is being paid to read. Right, so if someone's getting paid $80,000, $40,000 just to read. That's why we train at Nike and Google and General Electric and all these individuals, because that's the faster you could raise the collective intelligence of your team, the more that they can be competitive. Information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. We know that.
Okay.
And we know this because ultimately the expert's not always the person on the podcast or on stage. You are your own expert. So genius leaves clues.
Okay.
Genius leaves clues all the time. So when somebody's exceptional in some area, there's a method behind the magic, including for your own self.
Okay.
So you don't remember all names, but you certainly don't forget all names. Now, go and deconstruct that, decode that. Usually the names you remember are names you're motivated to.
Okay.
You're somebody that is attracted to somebody that could be good for their business,
Yes.
right? So there's emotion there. So emotion tied to information becomes a long-term memory. Because here's the thing, is there like a song or fragrance or food that could take you back to when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Because information tied with that emotion becomes a long-term memory. But here's the thing, back in school, what was the primary emotion we felt? Boredom, right? Half the room is bored, the other half is confused. But on a scale of 0 to 10, what's boredom? 0.
0.
Information times emotion. If the emotion is 0, what's anything times 0?
0.
And you wonder why you forgot the presidents, the capitals, the periodic table, all the things we learned in school, because the emotion level was very weak.
Wow.
Right? That's why entertainment is so powerful, because education, maybe empowerment is here. Entertainment is way up here because of that emotion. But when you can infuse emotion into the learning process, and part of that is human motivation. Because I remember the second question, I was talking to Bill Gates about he's like, reading is what I'd like to be better at. I'm like, I totally could help you with that, because leaders are readers, very clearly. And on top of that, I was like, we were talking about the future education, and I was talking about accelerated learning, and he was talking about tools and technology, and a bunch of crowd was building, and they said, what's missing? You have the tools, you have the theory, and we came to the same exact conclusion: motivation. The human brain does not learn through consumption, it learns through creation. Isn't it interesting that school would teach you what to learn, math, history, science, but important subjects basically, but not how to learn. What were the classes on creativity, imagination, strategy, problem solving, entrepreneurship, critical thinking, right? Where's the classes on listening? Right. On emotional intelligence? Where are the classes on speed reading? Where are the classes on remembering? Right? Socrates says learning is remembering. Because nobody, like when I was at Google, they're like, Jim, but we have a search engine. Why do we need to retain all this information? Here's the reason, is because, I'll give you a couple of reasons. Number one, your brain is like a muscle. It's use it or lose it. But people are suffering from digital dementia. This is the new term in healthcare. Digital dementia. Digital dementia, where we're so dependent on our smart devices. It keeps our to-dos. It does simple math for us. I went to dinner the other night and it was 10 of us, literally 10 of us. The waiter comes with the check, and half of the 10 people pulled out their phones to divide the check by 10. And if people are listening to this, they don't understand why that's a problem, then that's the problem. That's the problem. Right? Because all you have to do is just move it, the decimal just one over. But we've been so dependent on it. So digital dementia is saying we're so dependent on technology that we're not using this technology anymore. Like how many phone numbers did you know growing up?
That's the amazing question. I was thinking,
how many?
I don't know my wife and children's phone number right now. And I can tell you, I know my best friend's parents' phone number from when I was 7 years old.
Isn't that insane? And I'm not suggesting people, I don't want to memorize 500 phone numbers, but we've lost the ability to remember one. Because entrepreneurs, you want your freedom, right? You set your life for freedom, but if you can't get yourself to do the things, then you don't have freedom.
It's the rub,
right?
It's
exactly.
the rub.
And and that's the thing. That's the paradox. If you just do the easy things in life, you procrastinate, you put things off, right? Then life is hard. But if you do the hard things in life, life becomes easy.
Wow, so good.
And because you're building those muscles. And what I'm suggesting is mental fitness is as important as mental intelligence. And I always tell people when they come to me and they say, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I have a horrible memory. I always say, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limitations, you argue for your limits, they're yours, right? And here's the thing, your brain is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you programmed your supercomputer not to. They say the two most powerful words in the English language are also the smallest, I am. Because whatever you put after that, complete that sentence with, is going to determine your destination, your destiny.
I'm so glad you're saying this because this is typically said by you know what I mean, by motivational people or inspiring people. Now we've got a brain person, science telling you this is a fact.
So your identity is this. So let's say at a simple level, let's say people want to change their behavior, they want to stop procrastinating.
Yes.
But their identity is, I'm a procrastinator.
Yes.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one.
Yep.
They want to change a behavior like, oh, I want to stop smoking. But their identity is, I am a smoker. Wow, that's going to be a challenge, right? So here's the thing. The reason why I bring these distinctions up is because it takes the self-loathing or the judgment out of it, because you don't have to, if you're not good at something, you could say like, oh, you could address the level that's holding you back. Finally, below the level of behavior, and this is a big one, is a level of environment, because the behavior is you want to stop smoking, but the environment is you're around a lot of smokers. Because it's not, here's the thing, the people you spend time with is the people you become. You know this, you teach this, because your mirror neurons are always imitating what's around you. And that's the thing. So I want to sensitize you to, because often the people that hold us back are the people that love us the most.
You nailed it.
Because you know why? They're like, oh, you're going to another event, you're listening to another podcast, why are you reading another book, spending all that money? And they can have good intentions. Right? Because ultimately people are doing things for, generally I believe for good reasons.
Most people.
But they could be sincere, but they could be sincerely wrong.
Sincerely wrong. And I love the I'm not this yet.
Right.
I also want to just repeat things and you say brilliant things one after the other. And so this idea that as a parent, your external dialogue becomes your child's internal dialogue is just riveting. I mean, it's riveting. And it's also true, I think, of leaders and companies too. Your external dialogue about your company or about that individual can become their internal dialogue. So what you're saying matters so deeply.
There are 6 primary questions we learned in school. 5 W's and 1 H, right?
Okay.
Now watch this. The identity level answers the question of who. The beliefs and values answer the question of why. The capabilities answer the question of how you do it. The behavior is the what, and the environment answers the question of when and where. It is fully aligned. And so I feel like we have natural genius inside of us, and when this is aligned with this, when people talk about their mind and their body and their values and the habits, when they're all aligned, things happen naturally and they're not have been forced. And my goal for everybody who's watching and listening to this is that they're smarter than they think.